afternoon, everyone. I am Selenay Aytac. I am a librarian at Long Island University. I'm very happy to be here and hope to see you in person in the very near future. So today we'll be talking about bibliometrics. That's the research area most of us do all the time. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, I am a librarian here at Long Island University Post Campus, and I have a doctoral degree in information studies where I did bibliometrics commonly in my studies. I also did some other master's degrees where I use bibliometric research methods for many different studies. So first of all, I will talk about what is bibliometrics. It's analysis of scientific literature and one of the most popular data analysis techniques used among librarians. And so we don't need any type of IRB or human subject review boards requirements for this type of studies. It's just use of literature for analysis. And we see that bibliometrics often used in library information science. But if you look at the recent literature, we see that variety of disciplines employing bibliometric analysis techniques to report back about their literature, publications, authorship, and in many other areas. And we also see that the proliferation of web-based indexes such as Scopus and Web of Science made it easy to retrieve and analyze large volumes of bibliometric data. So this is another reason to consider bibliometrics, that these indexes really make it easier to collect and analyze data, especially analyzing large volumes of bibliometric data. So we have an hour together, and I'm hoping that we can use this time very beneficially for everyone. So at the end of this session, hopefully everyone will be evaluate individual authors, institutions, or countries' scientific productivity by themselves. And I'm sure we have some experts in the group as well, so we can hear their recommendations, suggestions, and experience at the end of the session as well. But for some of our beginner colleagues, hopefully they will also be able to examine the scientific growth or trend of any research field or any institutions or research group, and hopefully they will have some fundamental knowledge of how to investigate the scientific impact of any given publication at the end of this session. So just to give you an overview, we see that the term bibliometrics coined by Alan Pritchard in the 1960s. And we see that a special emphasis at that time, counting books, counting publications such as articles, citations, any statistically significant manifestation of recorded information on our documents. So this is the era we're talking about published documents and print documents. So right before the internet and digital environments. So we're talking about physically born documents, books, articles, journals, volumes, issues. So this is the era that we're focusing on documents and published recorded information. If I just take you through the historical timeline, we see that whenever Bush 1945 and the the tantalizing article by Bush, and we see Eugene Garfield's with Science Citation Indexes 1961. Right now, Science Citation and Social Science Citation Indexes are part of Web of Science, and it's very easy to investigate or do analysis in these indexes. But in old days, some of you may remember, we had these dedicated rooms for science citation indexes, and when we need to do analysis of a certain scholar, his or her publication, we had to dedicate days to go into this print science citation indexes and do analysis in there. So, but this is the time, 1961, we see the science citation index coming in the scholarly picture. Then we have Derek Price, 1963, and 1978, a very important journal for us, Symptometrics. It's the sole purpose of this journal to focus on bibliometric analysis. And then we see that International Society for Symptometrics and Informatics, ISSI, founded in 1993. So these are the historical timelines. We see a lot of things happening, changing regarding scientific productivity and the publications and the counting publications and so on and so forth. So today we are talking about bibliometrics, and it's the topic that I'm very fond of. But in the meantime, there are so many other metrics out there, right? We have symptometrics, informetrics, webometrics, cybermetrics, and altmetrics, the counting of scientific communication. So these are a variety of terms we hear all the time regarding counting of scientific communication. So when we talk about bibliometrics, the sole object of bibliometrics is publications. In old days, I'm talking about before Web of Science, we're talking about counting publications in print volume of science citation indexes, or the counting of publications of authors or labs, research collaborations. Now we see that the counting of publications in Web of Science or in online environment, so it's a little bit easier, but still the purpose of this activity is measurement or evaluation of scientific productivity. So we always use quantitative analysis techniques to do that. Mostly we do descriptive analysis, and sometimes to evaluate certain laws, we may need to do further inferential statistics. But if we are familiar with a simple descriptive statistic analysis, we can easily do a lot of evaluation for many different topics. We can always analyze different disciplines, topics, and report descriptive data regarding what's happening in the field. But in the meantime, we can also assess this publication based on certain bibliometric laws. There are multiple bibliometric laws being used in the literature. One of them, and perhaps the most popular one among librarians, Lodka's law. This is the distribution of scientific papers among authors. So this is the first one and very well-known law. And there is also Bradford's contribution on the scattering of papers on a given subject in scientific journals. There is a Zipf's work on distribution of words in a text, and there is a Pareto rule, or everyone knows as 80-20 rule, like majority of the papers written by 20% of authors, or in a given 100 people group, 20 of them are responsible for 80% of productivity. So these are some of the laws that we see in bibliometrics studied or examined, or in some cases we see that papers analyze if the given publications follow one of these laws, like follows Lotka's law or not. I'll be happy to talk about any of this if you are interested in further. But my popular one is Lotka's law that I was studying recently. In terms of bibliometrics and impact factor of journals and evaluation of scientists, there are a couple of other terms that we should be aware. The first one is the journal citation reports, also known as JCR. Impact factor, IF, ISI indexes. These are referring to Science Citation Index and Social Science Citation Index. We have H index, Hirsch index, Web of Science, Scopus, and Google Scholar. So before we had Web of Science, we have ISI indexes. And before ISI indexes, first we have Science Citation Index. So these indexes usually consist of very top cream of scientific publications. So they have a very rigorous selection procedure to pick the journals. So therefore, Web of Science coverage will always significantly different than Scopus coverage. So as you know, Scopus came in the picture a little bit later than Web of Science, and the Web of Science also being criticized for so many different reasons, such as the coverage, particularly coverage, and Scopus came to the picture later on, presenting a wider coverage and especially wider type of documents. In Web of Science, in Social Science Citation Indexes or Science Citation Indexes, we see that journals are being the major document type. In the meantime, in JCR, we see the top journals, the cream of the scientific productivity indexed. And we also see impact factor of these journals, like how many articles published within a specific journal and how many citations received by those publications within, again, in the same environments in Web of Science or in one of the citation indexes. And we also see H index recently. In Google Scholar, we see another index reporting from the last 10 years of a scientific productivity. So we have Web of Science to use for our bibliometric studies. We have Scopus to use for our bibliometric studies. And now we also have Google Scholar, which is the completely subscription-free system where we can do a lot of different studies. But of course, Web of Science and Scopus are the most popular ones, since that these are subscription fee-based services, and you can do substantial analysis of published literature within those. So what I would like to do is I would like to go through some of the studies we published together with my colleagues, and showcase each study and focus on the data and data collection and analysis techniques and the selection of indexes and reporting the results to answer the research questions. So we're just going to go through some of the studies we did in the past. The first study I like to share is recent library practitioner research, a methodological analysis and critic. So this study published in 2007. We see that this study published in 2007 and reporting back regarding to library practitioner research. So when we say library practitioner research, we're talking about practitioner like us, librarians, and doing research. So we picked 23 library information science journals for this study, and we have mined 401 research articles. So this was a study that we conducted in the library without the help of any sorts of database or web-based system. And we use print journals. So I remember spending my whole summer in the library information science section of the periodicals for the study. And we gathered the list of library information science journals, and then we picked 23 of them, and then we go through each publication, volume, issue, and contents page. And we have mined about 401 research articles. And for the purpose of sample, we only select 206 articles from this published literature. So we basically analyze the 50% of published practitioner research. When you do this type of studies, when you analyze a vast amount of articles for this particular topic, you really need a good rubric to use. So we create a rubric and a checklist of 35 factors, and we use this rubric for each article, and we collect data. So I personally went through this 206 articles by using these printed rubrics and recorded all these variables that we may need later on, such as authorship, how many authors, who are the authors, the topic of the paper, the setting, type of research, data collection methods, type of data analysis, statistical techniques they use, if they did, and descriptive versus inferential, and if they use any inferential statistical techniques, which one they use, and the quality of the reports itself. We also did an analysis of the quality of the report. And so we had a lot of descriptive data for this study, and we also statistically analyzed the findings and produced the results. And we report back from practitioner research. We had tons of descriptive data to present. We also did some inferential statistical analysis with the data. And the major reason of this research was to present how practitioners are doing in terms of research. So when you do this type of study, it's very important to pick the right journals. So we picked 23 library information science journals where practitioners publish frequently. But if I just pick the top library information science journals from JCR, like JSIST or Symptometrics, then we may see that majority of these authors are not practitioners. They are the library information science scholars from the field. So I think it's very important to be sure that you have a good sample and the selection of journals when you do this type of studies. Another study we did was another published librarian research, and we pick a sample 2008 through 2012. For this analysis, this was some sort of complementing to the previous study, and we picked 13 library information science journals. And for this research, we analyzed 1,778 library information science articles. We focus on research versus non-research articles, and we reported descriptive data as a result of this study. And we found that 43% of articles, they were deemed as research articles. And then we reported a variety of variables, such as the authorship, if they are written by single author versus collaborative authorship, the topic, type of research, data collection, and analysis techniques. Why practitioner research is important? It's very important because we are the practitioners in the fields and servicing our community as librarians, and we are very close to whatever is happening in everyday scenarios in libraries and information centers and museums and any sort of library information science centers. So we are very close to data, and how often we are taking advantage of this wonderful closeness to the data and the reporting from what we do every day. So it's important, of course, to publish research studies related to what we do every day. In the meantime, it's also important for ourselves because some of us are faculty librarians, and for a variety of reasons, such as tenure, promotion, or any other type of academic reasons, we have to publish. We have to have a published. We have to have a publications, and we have to support our institution with our research projects. And in the meantime, we have to assist other scholars with the use of all the databases and research resources we have. So there are so many reasons why practitioners publish, why we have to publish. And so these are the studies that we report back from published literature related to practitioner research. So I have another example here, another bibliometric study. This was actually my doctoral dissertation research. And in my doctoral dissertation research, I study international scholarly collaboration in science, technology, and medicine and social science. And I pick a very purposive sample close to my heart, since that I'm originally from Turkey. I study Turkish scientists and how international collaboration happening with this Turkish scientist and others. So for this dissertation research, I use Web of Science. And Web of Science is a very sophisticated database to study international scholarly collaboration. And I examine the collaboration and so many other variables. In Web of Science, when you work with such a huge data, you can also make smaller portion, such as annual. You can study annual data first, and then you can combine the results, or you can make smaller groups, like let's say 2007 till 2012. Relatively might be a smaller data than 2012 and after in Web of Science. So you really have to pick a good amount of data, focus on that, and then combine later on, because this was a huge study with big numbers. To studying a country's collaboration with other countries requires a lot of steps, and it's a very complicated and a huge data to analyze. But Web of Science makes it possible by giving you you can focus on year, you can focus on individual authors or particular collaboration. So it takes time. I mean, as you all know, all sorts of bibliometric studies analysis takes time. It's a very tedious and very time-consuming type of research, but I think we librarians are okay with that. Another study we did, a recent study, we focus on STEM librarianship with my dear colleague from Stony Brook University. And we focused on applicability of low-cost law by reviewing 590 STEM librarianship research. this research published in 7 journals between 2016 and 2019. So you can ask me, how did we pick these journals? These are the practitioner journals. We always study practitioner journals and how library science practitioners produce research and contribute to scientific productivity. So we pick a very small sample here, year 2016 to 2019. When you do this type of very detailed analysis, you see that the numbers, they become huge numbers to work with. So that's why we reported for only 6, 7, 8, and 9, 4 years of publications. And you can see the example here that we only have the we have Lotka's principles here. So we tested the data for Lotka's principle and it's for its applicability to Lotka's law. If I just briefly give you overview, what is Lotka's law? Alfred Lotka, a famous statistician, demographician, presented this law saying that majority of publication in a given sample will be written once by single authors. And the authors with 2 or more publications in a given literature will be much smaller number than the authors only publishing 1. In another word, we can say that if we have hundreds research articles, majority of them, according to Lotka, 61 of them will be only single production. And 61 authors will only contribute to this given literature only once. And two of them will contribute a little bit more and with a little bit less, and 3 fewer, 4 much fewer. So we see that repeats in Lotka's terms, repeats are much less than the single productions. So we analyze this publication based on Lotka's law, if they fit or not. So if I have a few minutes left, what I would like to do is I like to show you a few databases now and how we use these databases for bibliometric studies. First of all, I will share my screen for Web of Science. So here, as you see, I have the Web of Science interface. And till recent time, we used to do searches in Web of Science, document searches. Now we can also do searches in researcher stuff. So we can also do investigate researchers here. The first ISI indexes, they were Science Citation Index and Social Science Citation Indexes. And we now have more indexes included in Web of Science. The recent ones I noticed was the ProCast Dissertation Thesis Citation Index. So till very recent time, we didn't have ProCast included in Web of Science searches, but now it's in there. So now we have a lot of dissertations and theses also indexed in Web of Science. So here in document search, we usually employ the topic search, and the topic will bring results from title, abstract, and author keywords. So you may remember from the previous one, the topic with the TS equal, we usually search in title, abstract, and author keywords. Now this topic option gives you to do that with only one option. Of course, if you're looking for, let's say, affiliation, you're looking for publications by Long Island University, of course, you can also use the affiliation search here. But for a general scientific productivity analysis, usually we see studies using topic search and the keywords here. I mean, you can still use the advanced search option, just like how we use in the past. In the past, we used to build these queries in the advanced search option to get the most refined results. But now we can also use a simple search option and see the results and analyze the results and refine the results in there as well. So another interesting thing in Web of Science is the researcher option. So this is something very useful to know. You can do researcher search here. As you know, in science, most of the science and social science, we use APA citation style. So we don't usually use the full names of the authors. We use the last name and the first initial. So like, for instance, when I look at the researchers with the last name Aytac and the first name S, then you can see all the details here. And so it's easier to, let's say you click at my name, then you can see that Selenay as a full name and the first initial also linked here within these indexes. We talk about some other metrics here, like H index. So they also report H index of each scholar. And how many times their publications received citation within this given database. Another database we often use is Scopus. Scopus is produced as a competitor to Web of Science, as you all remember, and has a wider coverage. Also, Scopus was so proud of indexing a variety of document types, not just journal articles, such as conference proceedings, some monographs, while Web of Science was notorious with only journal publications as a document type. So we can make a statement that in Scopus we see variety of documents, so we have more results with each search. Also more results in different document types as well. Here, when we use the Scopus, you see that they have article title, abstract, and keyword option, just like we did in Web of Science, TS equal option. So we usually use this search option to retrieve documents. But in the meantime, if you're looking for, again, affiliation or country data, like how I did for my dissertation, I was working on publications affiliated with the country Turkey when I was doing my doctoral research. So here, documents, and you can explore authors and organizations here as well. In addition to Web of Science and Scopus, we also see that Google Scholar being used in different studies, in different bibliometric studies. Google Scholar is not a fee-based database like Web of Science and Scopus. Here, usually when we do searches, we search with title in Google Scholar. So it's a completely different type of system here. But in the meantime, they also have a specific user profiles for authors. And you can see that I had only 10 publications of mine indexed in Web of Science, but here we have many more publication indexed, because Google Scholar has a slightly different way of indexing publications. And we also see a lot of repeated publications here. And also citations are higher and different than Web of Science or Scopus here in Google Scholar, because basically the domain is the whole web. Cited by in Web of Science, we see the citations by the other Web of Science journal articles, right? The journal articles indexed by ISI, SCI, or SSCI. So here we see that the citations coming from a variety of documents, reports, symposiums, books, book chapters. So we have a slightly higher citations for each documents here. And also in Google Scholar, we see that they report the citations. They report the citations since 2019, just to give you the 5 years overview how this particular author received citations in the huge documents available on the web. Also, they present H-index, just we talked about Hirsch index previously, and they also have I-10 index, which is just focusing on the last 10 years, I believe. You can also see the co-authors of each person. So they got the co-authors data from the collaborators. They present all these details there. So if you would like to do bibliometric analysis, I'll be happy to meet librarians and share my experience and have a collegial chat.